Good morning, engineer. Today we are going to talk about the study of the behavior of the organic banana export market in Peru using the Cummins algorithm. So, let's start. In the last decade, the globalization has been in charge of establishing a closer relationship between people, allowing collaboration for technological advances. These advances have generated great application in different industries, but the same advances have generated a setback in more human areas, like alimentation. In last years, the mass production of chemical-treated food has deteriorated the quality of this, so the demand for organic products has also increased. Developed countries like Netherlands, United States, and Japan are the main buyers of organic food, and Latin America is the main producer. Of all products, organic banana is the best seller. Since 2008, Peru has increased the level of production and export of this food. The northern part of the country, mainly Piura and Tumbes, is where production is concentrated. With a wide list of public and private companies that export this product, Peru is covering a greater area in this market as the years go by. Our objectives are three. First, we are going to make an algorithm commit using the capability of Google Drive and some libraries of Python. With this, we will study the evolution of the market, the main importing countries, and the main exporting companies. Finally, we will have conclusion about the relation between the number of boxes sold, the GDP per capita, and number of sports. Means algorithm. It's a non-hierarchical algorithm that belongs to unsupervised learning. The objective of the K-means is create groups from a data set using the variables that define the data. The first step is select K. K is the number of the groups that it will be created. This number is obtained intuitively or through statistical methods like the elbow of Jambu. The next step is create centroids. Randomly, the algorithm selects key points that will be called the first centroids. In this case, we are working with k equal 2. After that, the algorithm assigns elements the nearest centroid, assigning each element of the data set to the nearest centroid to form the first clusters. The fourth step is erasing the position of each centroid. After the creation of the first cluster, the algorithm calculates the gravity center of each cluster. These gravity centers will be the new centroids. The final step is erasing the data's elements to the nearest new centroid. If there were elements that were assigned to a new centroid, the algorithm returns to state 4. The algorithm continues between state 4 and 5 until there are no longer elements to be erased from clusters. When there are no more elements that change the cluster, the algorithm has finished. And we have two clusters with their respective elements from the dataset. Algorithm development. Each interpretation depends on the data that is available and who interpreted it. Whatever, reality is unique, and that is why the human has been putting some minimum rules to accept an interpretation and covering as a fact, facilitating the reproducibility and refutability of an interpretation. These rules have the name of scientific methods. This method can be simplified in 6 steps: observation, interpretation, hypothesis, experimentation and verification, analysis of results, and theory. First step: observation or data analysis. To begin, we had to search general information about organic banana, specifically Banano Cavendish. Search the companies that export this product in Peru using the webpage of SUNAT, and also search information about the main buyer's country like its PBI per capita. Next step is interpretation. We need to clean, delete nulls, and replace the data. Make graphics to observe possible groups using softwares like Excel, Power BI, and Python. Another important thing in this point is the data normalization. Since we are using quantitative variables, we must standardize the data so that each variable has the same value in the analysis. With this, the variables to be tested in the k-means are chosen. Step 3. Hypothesis. With the above interpretation, we believe that it's possible to find a relationship between the number of boxes sold, the GDP PBI per capita, and the number of sports. For example, we realize that the main buyers countries are developed countries with a high PBI per capita, like Netherlands and United States. So we want to find patterns to better understand the market and to be able to make projections. The next step is experimentation and verification. For the first case, we choose only two variables, FOB and net buy, while in the second case, we study with three variables, the number of boxes sold, the PVI per capita, and the number of sports. So, we made the code using Collaboratory of Google Drive. We link on three libraries of Python, SNumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. For the dataset, we use the SUNAT and World Bank web page, and we obtain statistical data. Now, we build the model. To start, we need to define the functions. The first function is Euclidean distance. With this, we measure the distance between one point and another in the dataset. 2. Define the item counter in a list. 3. Define the function that assigns the elements in a group. 4. Calculate of the gravity center of each cluster. And to find an optimal number for groups, we define the function elbow of Jambu. Now we introduce the data. Choose the columns to work, that is, the variables to use, and we convert the columns data into an array to work with matrices, and we run the code. Now, let's analyze the result of the first case, which used two variables, the number of boxes sold and FOB. Now, let's analyze the result of the first case, which used two variables, the number of boxes sold and FOB. Using the years 2011, 2015, and 2019 for example, we run the code. In these 3 years, the octet number of clusters is 6. Well, the first conclusion that we notice is the number of the buyer countries and exporting companies increase as the years go by. And a lot of the new buyer countries belong to the European Union, as Belgium, Finland, and Germany. So it's an indication that Europe is a destination with more variety than America. Also, the main buyer country between 2011 and 2015 was USA, but in 2019 Netherlands became the most buyer. Now we want to know the reasons for the type of change. So we must use three variables, but for this time we will use the PBI, the number of sports and the number of boxes sold. Unlike the previous case, we will use the dataset from 2010 to 2018. With the previously mentioned 8 variables, we ran the code. According to Elbow of Jambu, the octet number of groups is 6. The clusters 1, 2, and 3 include the countries that buy the most boxes, reaching the scale of the 3 millions. Netherlands and United States belong these groups. Clusters 4 and 5 are in the scale of 100 and 900 miles boxes both. These groups are made out of countries like Germany, Belgium, Japan, and Korea. And finally, the cluster 6. This is a special case, since it is made out solely for Finland. Finland bought a few times, but each purchase is a very large number of boxes. So, why Netherlands and United States are the main buyers countries? Well, both countries have a reason. The Netherlands lifestyle is highly healthy, so their organic food intake is expected to be high. For its part, United States have a tremendously high population density, the highest among all the countries in this list. Also, both countries have a high PBI per capita, so they can satisfy the demand for this type of products. The rest of the country in clusters have similar characteristics, either high population density or healthy lifestyle, in addition to having two related high PBIs. In conclusion, if you want to guarantee a high sales of boxes, the destination country must have a high population or a healthy lifestyle, and, if it's possible, a high PBI. So sporting companies must carry out an investigation to ensure that the buyer countries possess at least one of these characteristics. Well, thanks for paying attention. Have a nice day.